pundits in this country who hate Israel are already putting together their arguments against Israel striking Iran. And it's not about some lack of intelligence. They're not stupid. It's evil. That's what it is. It's evil. The same being true of those demonstrators who have come against Israel and actually defended Hamas. I'm talking about our own people in this country. But you see, all of this, I can smile at this point. I'm going to end on a positive note this morning. Because you see, all of this makes no difference. Because when a country is embraced by God Almighty, that country will win the battle against the enemy. Rest assured. Several verses in the Bible express God's love for Israel, emphasizing his chosen people status, his faithfulness to his promises, and his enduring love for them. Deuteronomy 7:6 says, "For you are a people holy to the Lord your God. The Lord your God has chosen you out of all of the peoples on the face of the earth to be his people, his treasured possession." Malachi 1 verses 2 and 3 declares, "I have loved you, says the Lord." But you say, "How have you loved us? Is not Esau Jacob's brother, declares the Lord? Yet I have loved Jacob, but Esau I have hated. And then when Israel was a child, I loved him and called my son out of Egypt." Mr. Terry, the number one reason, though, that I called in this morning is to ask that all of the talk line listeners that they will pray that God will take care of his country, and especially at this time, whatever, and that once again Israel will be victorious, and this will result in Israel and Iran hopefully having a peaceful coexistence that's taking place between Egypt and Israel. Pray that God will continue to bless his leaders, including that beloved Prime Minister of Israel that I truly adore, and I love that man. This is God's country. And all the reports, by the way, show that Israel is already winning in taking out the nuclear sites. Hope you and Miss Sue Ann have a wonderful weekend, and God bless you, and we'll talk to you Monday morning. Thank you so much. Bye.
Appreciate it. All right, 222-9224.
This morning, enjoying it, and it brought back some memories to me, because I listened yesterday when these comments came up about the riots in '69 here in Burlington. Very unfortunate time. I remember those quite well. I was at Williams High School. I was a teenager at Williams High School when all this occurred. And I was answering some of the comments that were made. And I decided to call up your call this morning, brought up about this young man that died, unfortunately was killed during those turbulent times back then.
They love to kill black people in Burlington.
Insight into this. Like I said, I was here. I was at Williams High School and around when all these things occurred. My late father was a reserve deputy sheriff, and my late brother was a probation parole officer who were activated during those times and had to work. And then I witnessed a lot of things myself, and then years later, at the Burlington Police Department, I had the opportunity to review the files. I won't go into details about why and what we were doing, but I had an opportunity to review the files on those cases, on those instances, including the unfortunate death of that young man. And, it dawned on me this morning, Harry, it's been 22 years this month since I retired from Burlington. It doesn't seem that long, does it?
22 years. Good.
Yes, sir. 22 years.
Randy, it seems just like yesterday I was sitting down in the conference room down there with you and Chief Deputy Britt. It just seems like yesterday. It really does.
Well, that's Burlington I retired to 22 years ago. It's been 7 since I retired at
the sheriff's office.
Yeah. But anyway, we had an opportunity to go through and we reviewed those files. Mm-hmm. The fact is, and this is straight out of the files, neither the Burlington Police Department's investigation, the SBI, or the FBI, who fully investigated, ever determined who fired the shots to kill that young man. They were never able to determine that, and part of the reason why he was actually, from what I read in reports, his death occurred from shotgun pellets. So when the statement's made that he was shot 17 times, you kind of draw an image like he was machine gunned or something like that. It was shotgun pellets. Back then, the standard, and I don't know, but most of the time police, if it was a police shotgun, most of the time they were issued number 4 buckshot back then. If that identification, what he was hit with, that's one shot. Because today we load double aught buck because of changing times. So there's 9 to 11 pellets in the double aught buck shot shell. There's a lot more in the 4. I think they're like 20-something pellets. So this young man was apparently, if he was hit by a police round at all, it was one round. It wasn't 17 separate bullets that were fired in that young man that night. Again, they never determined who, and your first call this morning was absolutely correct. From the report I read, he was caught in the crossfire. Rioters were shooting at police, and the law enforcement over there, to save us Burlington Police Department, there were about 18 or 20 law enforcement agencies present that night. So they were never able to determine who actually fired the shot, whether it came from law enforcement or whether it came from some of the rioters or what. It's a tragic event because I actually had interacted with this young man. He was the same age as I. Didn't know him well, but I was acquainted with him because I played basketball with him when I was 12 and 13 years old over at Old Fisher Street School. Mm-hmm. So it was tragic, but it was never determined who actually fired that shot. Mm-hmm. Also, I heard a simplification made about how all this stuff started, about the cheerleader selection at Williams High School and all that. I believe that was more of a subterfuge, Harry, just to be honest with you, because the statement was made yesterday that they had peaceful protests over the cheerleader selection, and that then there was a curfew instituted, and then we had the riots. Well, I don't think you're going to find a peaceful high school protest is going to result in having a curfew instituted. Mm-hmm. It's going to have to be a lot worse than that, and it was. And I can tell you from first-hand knowledge, it was a lot worse than that. Mm-hmm. There were fights that occurred at Williams High School one afternoon that led into all this, and it absolutely was some outside agitators. I know that because I witnessed it. I was one of them. Back in those days, I don't know what they do now, but there's a parking lot at Williams High School on the Arlington Avenue side that's beside the auditorium. And some of the older students would gather out there because it was called a senior parking lot back then, and you could get a permit to park your car out there, and a few of the guys did. Well, I had some friends that were upperclassmen. I was, I think, probably a sophomore back then. And we'd go out there after lunch. You had a lot more freedom back then to move around the campus. You know, you'd sit on the front lawn and eat lunch. And I used to sit there with my girlfriend sometime and eat lunch. Or you'd go in the parking lot and listen to 8-track tapes out there that the guys had in their cars. There was a group of people that showed up about the time everybody was breaking up out there. Everybody didn't go out there. There'd be 30, 40 out there at a time sometime. I'd been out there and we just come back into the auditorium. A whole caravan of cars pulled up, and a group of individuals got out, came into the parking lot, and attacked the students in the parking lot. Now, you never hear that story, but that's what happened because I watched it. I watched it occur, and that's where the fights broke out. Mm-hmm. These were all older people that started them. And I just have to say this in honesty, they were all black. They pulled up in a caravan of cars. They were not students at Williams High School. They all looked older. I would estimate 18 to 22 years old. It was later determined that several of the cars, when they got license checks off of them, the cars were all out of Durham. And that's where the fight started out there, and the cars, at least some of them, came from Durham, and nobody knew who any of these people were. Mm-hmm. They just showed up, and the fight occurred. And I know this happened because I witnessed it from right there at the door, because a buddy of mine pulled me back inside and said, let's not get involved in this. Admin for the Burlington City School system was on Fisher Street over there at Trade, across from Trade. So Trade used to dead end into Fisher. It's over where the Allied Shelters is now. Trade Street's been cut through. The Fisher Street School was there, and the admin building was beside it. There was a protest march over there. Some individuals broke into the building, and there were arrests made over there, and that spiraled into the later that night and into the weekend when they started having all the unrest. Mm-hmm. There definitely was outside agitation. It was reflected in reports I saw. There was one particular car that was seen at Williams High School and then found over there, popped up at the scene of the riots later that weekend. Mm-hmm. And the car was registered out of Durham, and I assume that people were out of Durham. I never found where these people were actually identified, because the fight started and it spread through the school at Williams. everybody scattered before the police got there because it was total chaos. Because my father and brother, I think 15, my father and brother came and got me out of school. They were older, and like I said, a few cars identified came from out of town.
Yeah.
So I'm people make their own assumptions. I witnessed this.
Okay.
There wasn't a whole lot of us because everything was breaking up, but there probably was more than 25 of us that witnessed it.
Mm-hmm.
But I was one of them and saw it happen. So I know what occurred and what started it.
We had a couple of calls about that particular thing, you know, and I just don't have, you know, the knowledge because I wasn't here. So I appreciate your knowledge. I really do.
Well, like I said, I witnessed some of the stuff, and the information came from my father and brother being out there, and then reading some of the files later on to see what happened, to see what came out of it. And that's what it was tragic. You know, like I said, I knew this young man casually, but I knew him, and we used to play basketball together over at First Street School, because I didn't live too far from that location. So we'd get together over there. There was about 5 or 6 of us that were all white went over there, and there was about 15 or 20 of the guys that were black, and we got together and mixed our teams up and played basketball over there. I mean, and it wasn't white against black on the basketball court. We were intermixed in the squads out there, and we just had a good time. So it's totally regrettable. It's a shame any loss of life happens, but anyway, that's the facts as I know them and what I saw.
All right. Well, Randy, appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Okay, Harry, you have a good one.
You too. Take care. Thank you. 222-9224.
But there's also a national movement called No Kings Day, and I'm letting people know if they want to participate. The closest one to WBAG listeners would be in Hillsborough, and I'm planning to be there on King Street in front of the old courthouse between 11 o'clock and 12 o'clock. You want to get there early and find parking. They have a big parking deck not far from there. And I just hope people who want to represent that point of view can show up, because it at least feels like you're doing something besides just watching the news and listening to the radio.
Okay.
And that's all I have for now.
Appreciate your call.
Okay. I'll call later. I'm your old classmate from UNC.
Okay.
So I know you are a ruddy bump major. And I always thought that was a funny word.
RT, what do you
Anyway,
say?
I'll see you
RTVMP.
tomorrow.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Take care. RTVMP, Radio, TV, and Motion Pictures. But, you know, my degree is in RTVMP. They don't even have it over there anymore. It's called communication now. But it was, you know, Radio, TV, and Motion Pictures. But the way it was radio, TV, motion pictures. They didn't have a whole lot of motion picture stuff going on while I was there. But boy, did they have television. Everybody wanted to be on the TV except me. I just didn't want to be on TV. True. And I never wanted to be in the movies, never wanted to be on television. I enjoyed radio. I liked doing the things that I did. Now, when I was in Columbus, I did a lot of television commercials. And the only reason that I did more commercials than anybody else, there were 2 of us down there that did lots of commercials. We were friends. He worked at one of the other stations, and we were convenient. We would be glad to go over, and you know, I was 2 blocks from the television station, so I could walk from the radio up to the television station and do a voiceover or a camera shot or whatever they needed. And the agencies that did all that stuff, they had their own setup, so I could either do a voiceover at the radio station, a voiceover at the agency studio, or do the TV thing, the camera work up at the television station. So I did all that stuff.
I don't think we need to rehash it. You know, I don't think we need to go over it. You know, I mean, you know, everybody knows what happened. I remember the fights at Williams. I remember I can tell you some of the names of the people that did the fighting at Williams. You know, it was like, oh, we won or they won. I mean, you know, it's just not even need to talk about that crap. You know, it's the bad time is over. But let's talk about this crap that we got going on now. And you know, I want Michael and Charlie, and it's me again, or any of these folks that call this radio station to listen to what I'm saying. What you're seeing in this country right now, and you may think that you're a Democrat and you think it's the greatest thing, They're doing the same. You know, they're doing. We're repeating because we're fed up. What you're seeing is an attack on America, an attack on our rights in America, an attack on our Constitution in America. And what you're seeing is a group of people that are highly, highly funded by the left wing, your party. And I'm sorry, but that's the way it is. And this money is coming from nonprofits. And this is a well-organized situation. I mean, they're bringing pallets of bricks, pallets of cinder block, Molotov cocktails, all of these things to these rioting sites. And they're dropping them off in the streets. Now, we wouldn't do that in Alamance County because our law enforcement wouldn't let them do that. They wouldn't let them prepare for a riot. But this is what's happening. You can see pictures of it. With these pallets of blocks. And then some of these people that were hired backed out. And they're starting to do YouTubes. And, you know, they went there and they were told, okay, at this intersection, this is where the blocks will be. This intersection, this is where the Molotov cocktails will be. At this intersection, this is where the bricks will be. Okay? So you start looking when you're in that area, mainstream media. There was a lady, an artist, I think. I don't know if she's a lady or not. There was a beautiful mural painted on the side of a building for Kobe Bryant. Beautiful. I mean, outstanding artwork. They graffitied this mural to where you can't even tell what it was. Defeat. I mean, I think Kobe Bryant was one of the best basketball players ever was. Yeah, he wasn't the best, the greatest. I think Michael Jordan was the greatest. But these are the kind of people that they're paying to do this. They don't care about white people. They don't care about black people. They don't care about Americans. They want to keep these people in this country for political purposes only, so that they can maintain or overcome and take the House of Senate over this country forever. They're putting these people, they wanted them all to stay in Texas, and what didn't stay in Texas would be in Florida. And thank God that the governors of these two states started shipping them up north, or wherever they could ship them. Because the whole thing was to take over the representation of those states through the Congress. For every 746,000, because the census is what's used to find the number of seats you have in the House. So every 746,000 illegal, which the census does not ask you if you're a legal citizen. It only asks you how many people live in that permanent residence. So this is the plan to take it over and take either Florida or Texas, knowing that if they ever turn those states to Democratic states, then the Republican Party, that's the end of it. They never win again.
Well, you know, one of the most fascinating things about what you just said, which is, you know, is amazingly true, is that all of a sudden, what is it that broke that up? They did not realize how absolutely conservative people that come across the border from Mexico are. They're not, and for the most part, you know, as a group of people, the people that came here from Mexico are conservative. They're Catholics, they're conservative, they're family people, and all of a sudden, the plan for Texas and Florida, the people that they thought were going to become Democrats didn't become Democrats.
Well, the problem is, this is before this. There's 20 million people that's come in here in the last 4 years. They're not citizens. They can't vote. Okay? Legally.
But the plan is to bring as many people across the border as you can get from the time they started doing it until now, and that at some point we'll pass a law that will create them as the ability to vote and they'll be citizens. But the problem is they found out, wait a minute, they're not as liberal as we thought they were.
Yeah, well,
That's the point I'm making.
Yeah, but what will happen is if they stayed in those two states, especially Texas, if they had stayed in Texas and then they got counted in the census, then the Democratic Party there would be more seats created for Texas. Yeah, and these people would still be illegal. So what are the Democrats going to do? If you put us in, we will legalize you. So they have this such big influx of population in this area that they put them in, promising they will give them citizenship if they get in.
So it hasn't worked.
Well, it hasn't worked because it's just now got going. It's getting going, and that's why they're fighting so hard to keep them from being put back in Mexico or wherever they're from. They get counted in the census.
See, I just read an article yesterday about this, about what you're talking about. And the article was about the people that had started this plan long ago had to change their tactics. That the people that are here now, it doesn't work with them because they're conservative. You know, it just hasn't worked, so they're going to have to change their tactic. They thought they had planned, the first people had planned to have Texas changed by 2020. That was their goal. And it didn't happen. And the reason it didn't happen was because none of the things that they think are true about the people that they're allowing to sneak into the country are true. They are not liberal people, they're conservative.
Well, a lot of the people that are sneaking in the country are criminals. But, you know, I mean, they're all criminals because they broke the law. But if you
let me give you a hint. There are a lot of criminals that come in here from
Europe,
from Mexico, that are very conservative.
The Europeans were the first ones.
Well, I mean, they can be a conservative or a liberal. I don't care if they're criminal. But what I'm saying is, if you go back to you remember Friedman, your Congress.
And they mad as hell now that God gonna get justice.
Okay, why was it okay in 1916 when all the immigrants came into the United States to Ellis Island? They were welcome. Well, what's the difference in then and now? What happened from 1916 to now that we don't want that anymore?
Because this is a holy war. God's gonna get His justice against the evildoers.
In the 60s, with all these entitlement programs. So guess what? We can't afford all those people. They're breaking our Medicaid system. They're breaking our social services system. We can't afford it in this country. So people, if you are American, you don't want this. Because we can't afford it.
Yeah. All right. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. You take care. 222-9224.
Thanks. On your shows and that. Look, when they're talking about over yonder about some boy got killed over there at the riot in 69. I don't know nothing about it. Nobody got killed over at the riot because I was there. Listen, your liars and things and your people that come on here where they're talking about they don't know nothing. Listen, the black folks was gathered over here on Rawhut Street. That's as far as they got. There was no rioting on Main Street, no rioting in the white neighborhood, nowhere. All the gathering that night was over here on Rawhut Street in the black community, and the police had them blocked off. Listen, I had a 54 Plymouth, and I was over there doing business. I wasn't at the riot, really, but I got trapped over there. I had to get a black guy to get in the car with me because black folks were throwing in my car, thought I was white. You understand what I'm saying? See, I'm telling the truth. You folks telling lies. Listen, and this boy, the police, they were throwing bottles and things over there one time on the police and going on, and the police was armed with buckshot, just like the guy said. That was true. Listen, and they got to shooting buckshots over there at the people and going on, and they lowered them. They wasn't supposed to lower them, but they lowered them. And one buckshot hit the guy up over the collarbone where the washer was over there, and it came out the back there under the skin. And I told him, I said, come on in the washer here, let me look at this. I went in the washer with him, and the buckshot was sticking out the back. I said, you're going to have to go to hospital with that. I said, because you're going to have that buckshot took out of your collarbone. Look. And so he had to go to the doctor and all that. That's the only one I know that was shot that night. But no black folks had no guns, so don't tell that lie. I was there. Right there on Walnut Street. Well, nobody in the white neighborhood to start with, because the police done pushed him down out of Walnut Street. You understand what I'm saying? So you can tell all the lies you want. I was there. But I was doing business. None of your business what I was doing. You understand what I'm saying? Listen, and you people just lie all you want to lie and tell all these lies about what is going on now. These people, listen, the humans, are not going to let you do these things. I got some Mexican friends. Wouldn't take nothing from them. They're not hateful. They're not aggressive and going on or nothing. They're good people. And some of you people are the worst people I've come in contact with in my life, working and going on. When I was working down here, listen, down here, Travoy Textile in Hall River, up above Hall River, working out on the yard. I wasn't allowed to work up in the mill. They work up in the mill where I'm finding the boiler for them and going on. You understand what I'm saying? Oh, it's kind of cold out there, buddy boy. I said, yeah, it's kind of cold. You know what I'm saying? I'm 18 years old. You understand what I'm saying? Making $1.18 an hour and going on. Hateful. People are going, I'm getting the custodors and things up for these old sorry women was working up in there going on different snuffing thing. I'd change them from it going on right there. $1.18 an hour. Don't tell me who people is. I know who they is.
I do too. I work with them too. They awful. They're terrible. They think they're better than anybody else, calling me Schwarzenegger. They terrible.
All day, and he would cheat you out of a nickel, so help him God. You understand what I'm saying? An old white man. He'd cheat. Didn't no black folks have no stores, so don't say they had no stores. There wasn't no stores for no black folks. And going on. They weren't allowed to have a store. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not talking about 100 or 200 years ago. I'm talking about in 1950, 1960. I'm not talking about 1,000 years ago. There's stuff now that they done stole and going on. John Dale McBroom in Green Level had land up by now here owned by white people. He took this woman, this man, I'm not going to call his name, unless he says a word that I will call it. Listen, he created this woman to the store and went on till he had stole every piece of land that this black woman had. The woman didn't even take a bad stink and go on. He get in the car with him, carry to the store like you're doing something. He was after that land. He got every bit of it, right down 49. You understand what I'm saying? That's what he was after. He wouldn't give her a drink of water if she hadn't had that land. You see what I'm saying? But he's going to pay for that. And you people think of what you're doing now and getting together and you're celebrating and going on and talking about what's going to happen and this is what we going to do and all that and this is our tax and that. This is not your land.
It sure hell ain't.
God's land.
That's the God's truth. These white people think they own every damn thing.
You people the one said this.
They evil as hell.
God said nothing. I read the Bible. You see, you hypocrites are putting out this on God, but God's going to put it out on you. You understand what I'm saying? You are not going to treat these people like you treated black people back yonder in slavery.
They sure hell ain't. We'll set the whole goddamn world on fire before that happens.
Listen, this here idiot over here said, take them and jump them out on parachutes and things and take their pretty trucks with them. See, you against their pretty trucks. Just like in 1956, my sister married Dr. J.E.S.U.S son, and listen, He was the only doctor, him and Dr. Shanks were the only two black doctors here in 1956 in here on Rawhut Street and going on. You understand what I'm saying? This is where we had to go to, them two doctors and going on. And they tried to kill him because my sister, they thought she was white. He married my sister, Dr. J.E.S.U.S. son. You understand what I'm saying? Right here, and he's up here at Sharp's Funeral Home. That's the house right there where Dr. J.E.S.U.S owned. Right there at Blackwolf, right there at, not Blackwolf, but Sharp's Funeral Home right there. It's still there. Dr. J.E.S.U.S, they were going to kill him for dating my daughter because they thought she was white. She had brown hair and going on pretty and going on. Just like she is white, just like I am. You understand what I'm saying? But you people have never been about the black person. It's about, like you was talking about, the Mexicans' pretty trucks and things and going on. What did the trucks have to do with it? You hate to see anybody have anything but you people. You understand what I'm saying? Up here at Elon, you got some homes back there look like motels and things and going on. No black folks got none up there and going on like that and going on, but you don't say nothing about them. If any black person gets anything, I got a friend that built a house up here in the white neighborhood, a big house and going on, and it was the talk of the town. People even came from Mebane to look at the house being built. You understand what I'm saying? I know who you are. You listen, I'm not talking about all white people. I got some good white friends and going on. But you hypocrite white folks, you Ku Klux skinheads and things like that, you gonna be taken care of. If you're not a Ku Klux, if you're not a skinhead or a proud boy, you ain't got nothing to say. But the ones that's going to open their mouths, that's the ones. You're nothing but dogs. Have a good morning.
All right, 222-9224. 222-9224. Let me tell you about postal connections.
You don't own nothing in this world. The Most High owns everything in this world. You stole our gospel and gave us a part of a gospel. You think y'all ain't gonna pay for that? We know what Jesus stands for. Joint European Slave Unionship. We know y'all got witchcraft all up in the church. Just take people's money. We know all of it. And some of us is just dumb. Dumb can be. And we try to educate them, but they don't want to be educated. Well, they just stay dumb and go with y'all to hell. You think because somebody died right here and they gone to the grave, you think they dead? That's how goddamn ignorant you are. The ancestors are here now to kick ass. Are you ready? So y'all praise y'all damn president, the damn devil, the damn Antichrist. Lick his ass. Strange how so many people don't want him. Protesters everywhere. Nobody wants that fucker but a whole bunch of racist goddamn racist folk.
Move forward and let something go. What is the Nine of Swords? What is the Nine of Swords? A Knight of Pentacles that was being childish with a Hierophant. There's a Knight of Pentacles that was being childish with a Hierophant and trying to get a crime committed, a fraud, getting away with fraud. They're getting unstuck from something and they're pushing something forward. What is the Eight of Wands here? They did have a meeting with your child and this Aquarius. They did have a meeting with them. They did connect to them. But somebody's being childish right now. What is the Eight of Wands? Death card. Clarify this death energy. Clarify this death energy concerning someone's name could be Miss Turner, a supervisor in the Social Security Administration. Miss Turner, a supervisor of the Social Security Administration. Clarify the death card. Something's about to get balanced out. because someone is bringing something to an end. They're not going to work with somebody any longer, and someone might be taking very quick action because something was a bad investment to hold back information concerning the fraud that was committed on you.